Hello and welcome, my friends. Since ancient times, humans have used lights to warn sailors of the presence of land or to guide them through dangerous sea passages. In the past, these lights were often fires lit on hilltops. However, by the early 18th century, modern lighthouses took on this task. For many years, only a few people worked in lighthouses because the job was not favored by many due to its difficult conditions, which required isolating themselves from civilization for some time. Often in desolate locations or perched on barren rocks amidst rough seas. Despite this, lighthouse keepers faced these challenges bravely to ensure that the lights remained lit even in harsh weather conditions, providing a safe passage for those who needed it. Naturally, given these harsh living conditions, it is not surprising that some lighthouses are associated with mysterious stories, such as the famous incident at the Eilean Mor Lighthouse off the coast of the Scottish Islands, where 3 keepers mysteriously disappeared without a trace, making Eilean Mor Lighthouse synonymous with one of the greatest maritime mysteries that remains unsolved to this day. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated with new content. The beginning of the story. On the evening of December 7, 1900, Northern Lighthouse Board Superintendent Robert Muirhead boarded his boat from the eastern harbor of Eilean Mor Island after bidding farewell to his colleagues. He headed to a steamer anchored offshore, which would take him back to the mainland. As he navigated the turbulent waters, he looked at Donald MacArthur, Thomas Marshall, and James Ducat on the small, isolated island, tasked with operating and safeguarding the lighthouse. As they waved goodbye to him from the harbor, it never crossed his mind that he would be the last person to see them alive. When the relief ship arrived 19 days later, there was no trace of them. The Flannan Isles, numbering 7, are about 20 miles west of the Hebrides in Scotland, with Eilean Mor being the largest. The islands, long uninhabited, are named after Saint Flannan, an Irish priest from the 7th century. Residents of nearby areas held many superstitions about these desolate rocky islands. Over the years, many fishing boats and commercial ships sank there. Although Hebrides residents often brought their sheep to graze on the fertile grass, they believed it was bad luck to spend a night there. In the 1890s, the Northern Lighthouse Board decided to build a lighthouse on Eilean Mor, a project that took 4 years and was often hindered by severe Atlantic storms, making supply delivery difficult. Nevertheless, the lighthouse was completed and began operation on December 7, 1899. Unfortunately, there was no wireless communication, and the only way to contact the mainland was by using semaphore signals, visible to the Hebrides residents on a clear day. At that time, 3 men were assigned to operate the lighthouse simultaneously. The mystery began on the night of December 15, 1900, when the American steamer SS Archer, en route from Philadelphia to Leith Harbor in Edinburgh, noticed that the lighthouse was unusually dark. The ship's captain reported this upon docking in Oban a few hours later. Although the dark lighthouse was a cause for concern, no immediate action could be taken due to harsh weather. The relief ship Hesperus was scheduled to sail on December 20th, but due to unfavorable conditions, it only departed on the morning of December 26th, St. Stephen's Day, carrying fresh supplies and keeper Joseph Moore. As they approached the eastern harbor, Captain Jim Harvey of the Hesperus blew the horn 3 times, followed by a distress flare, but received no response. From the moment they arrived, it was clear that something was amiss. There was no welcoming party of the 3 men who usually stood outside to greet visitors. The empty supply boxes were not placed at the harbor for replacement, and the flag was not flying on the mast. The Hesperus docked silently, and Joseph Moore headed to the island alone. Upon reaching the eastern harbor, he went directly to the lighthouse, calling out to the 3 keepers, but received no reply. As he explored, he found the dormitory door and the main gate closed, but inside the lighthouse, nothing seemed out of place. The lamps had been recently cleaned and refilled, The beds were unmade, as if the keepers had just woken up, and the dishes were washed and put away. After an initial inspection, Joseph found an overturned chair in the kitchen and noticed that all the clocks had stopped, increasing his concern. He returned to the Hesperus and reported his findings to the captain, then returned to the lighthouse with a few men, hoping to conduct a broader search. They found the eastern harbor intact, unlike the western harbor, which was in ruins due to severe storms. The workers also found a broken box 110 feet above sea level with its contents scattered, bent iron railings, the railway track torn from its concrete base, a rock weighing over a ton that had been moved to that spot, and uprooted grass 10 meters from the cliff edge over 200 feet above sea level. Investigations revealed that the keepers had logged entries in the attendance book until 9 a.m. on December 15th, noting the damage before their disappearance. One intriguing piece of evidence was that only one of the 3 raincoats was found, suggesting one of 2 possibilities. One man ventured out without his protective gear, especially during the harsh North Atlantic winter, or he was dead when he left the lighthouse. Joseph Moore and 3 other volunteers remained on the island to operate the lighthouse and restore it to its former state, while the Hesperus returned to the mainland station at Briskleet. Captain Harvey sent a telegram to the Northern Lighthouse Board, stating, "A dreadful accident has happened at the Flannan Isles. The 3 keepers have disappeared. We found the clocks stopped and evidence suggests the incident happened at least a week ago. Poor fellows. They must have been blown over the cliffs or drowned while attempting to secure a crane or something." The Flannan Isles mystery has inspired many creative works over the years, including stories, poems, songs, and even a musical. However, uncovering the truth of what happened may be impossible. Many embellishments have been added to the original story to heighten suspense and create a sense of horror. For example, it was said that Joseph Moore found a half-eaten meal upon entering the lighthouse, a common detail in many disappearance stories, but in this case, it is simply untrue. Other fabricated details often mentioned include entries in the logbook about the keeper's mental states. The only thing found in the logbook was documentation of the damage to the western harbor caused by storms, with no mention of Ducat crying or Marshall's quick temper. An American magazine specializing in fictional stories added these details to pique readers' curiosity. Nevertheless, no bodies were found, and no other clues were revealed, leaving us only to speculate on what happened on the Flannan Isles during those stormy days. One narrative, adapted into a film, suggests that after a storm cleared, the 3 men found a boat, a wooden crate, and an unconscious man on the shore. Ducat went to inspect him, only to find he was dead. As they lifted the crate, the man regained consciousness and attacked the keeper, who defended himself by striking the man on the head with a stone, ultimately killing him. When they opened the crate, they found several gold bars inside. MacArthur proposed disposing of the body, returning to the mainland with the gold, and laying low for a year before dividing it. However, another boat soon arrived with 2 men claiming to be the dead man's companions. Tensions rose as the keepers claimed they had reported the incident and a boat had already taken the body and crate. The lie did not fool the men, leading to a fight that ended with the deaths of both men, one by Ducat, who then noticed someone watching them. Marshall chased after the person and killed him in the darkness, only to discover it was a young boy. Overcome by guilt and paranoia, Marshall decided that Ducat was to blame for all the suffering and tricked MacArthur into locking him in a room before killing Ducat. Marshall then disposed of the bodies at sea but was consumed by grief and guilt, eventually begging MacArthur to drown him, unable to live with the bloodshed caused by their greed. MacArthur complied, leaving the island with the gold and haunted by nightmares for the rest of his life. Often, the simplest explanation is closest to the truth. The Northern Lighthouse Board concluded in its investigation that a massive wave had overwhelmed the 3 men and swept them away. Perhaps Marshall and Ducat went to save some equipment at the western harbor from the storm while MacArthur remained in the lighthouse as instructed, never leaving it unattended. From his position inside the lighthouse, MacArthur might have seen the massive wave approaching the island, rushing to warn his colleagues but arriving too late as he, too, was swept away by the following wave. However, this scenario does not explain why the dormitory door and the main gate were closed, how three experienced men who had spent countless hours surrounded by rough seas were caught off guard by a wave, or why no bodies floated to the surface as typically happens. In conclusion, we leave you with the words of Northern Lighthouse Board Superintendent Robert Muirhead, written in his official report dated January 8, 1901, about the keepers. I visited them on December 7th and often recall with deep sorrow that I was the last to shake their hands and see them alive. This is our story for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you to everyone who stayed with us until the end. Stay well.